YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and college football is back, and here we got week one picks against the spread. We created a league out of this for you guys to join for free. I'll pin a link down in the comments. It'll bring you to our Twitter. You got to follow our Twitter and then click that entry link. So that is how you join. Merch prize at the end of the year. A bunch of you are already in it. Doing the same thing for NFL. More to come out in that in the future. On our Patreon, we got weekly college football bets of the week. My favorite bets are going to do some crazy parlays. And then I'm predicting every top 25 game with scores on those top 25 games. All that on our Patreon every single week. So a lot of college football and NFL action there. It's on your screen. There's also a link in the description and comments for that as well. Please help us get to 10K on our Twitter. Constant talk on there, constant NFL action, busy time of the year. And subscribe, turn notifications on the channel here. Insane amount of NFL content. If you're new to the channel, insane amount, more than anybody out there. So check it out. Here's our Twitter, and that's how you. I'll pin a link in the comments of this video directly to what you see here. It's how you join our Picks League. The same will apply for the NFL Picks League, and you join through here. I want you guys to make your username, your entry name similar to your Twitter so I can contact you if you win. A lot more prizes involved in the NFL one. So check it out. Constant NFL. There's a lot of NFL news going on right now, so well worth it to follow us on our Twitter. But here is, we're using this ESPN Picks League, so I'm going to pick all these games that they have for us every single week. But again, you see right above me right here, that's our Patreon. There's a link down below. It shows a link on the screen. That'll have my favorite bets of the week. Again, we're going to do some crazy parlays like we did last year. Won some good money last year. And then we'll have score predictions on the top 25 games. There's also some bonus NFL content on there as well. So check it out. Link down below. But again, for the Picks League that is on your screen, that a bunch of you see have joined already, insane amount of people, so love it. There'll be a link in the comments for that as well. So a lot going on, but hopefully you guys can join us for all that because it's a great time of the year. It feels like it goes by so fast. So the first game they have in store for us is a good one. It's a good one here. Penn State, Wisconsin. Wisconsin is -4.5. This is probably one of the toughest ones they have for us here because this game can go either way, even just picking the winner. Both pretty disappointing last year. I'd say Penn State a little more disappointing than Wisconsin, but both a little disappointing. Wisconsin started off hot with that dominant win over Illinois, but and that it was a weird season though, especially for the Big Ten, conferences like that. I mean, I'd say Penn State's more of the offense. Wisconsin's more of the defense. Wisconsin's gonna have to. I'm gonna pick Wisconsin to win straight up. They're gonna have to get going on offense though, because Penn State will eventually find ways to put the ball in the end zone. +4.5. Again, this is one of the toughest ones. I'm going to take Penn State +4.5, mainly because I think it'll be a tight game. Again, Penn State could win. They could actually win the game. I'll take Wisconsin to win the game. I think their defense will be the difference maker there. Low-scoring game. But it's so tough, 4.5. I think it'll be around a 3-point win for Wisconsin. But again, like I said, and that's why I'm picking Penn State +4.5. Like I said, Penn State could win. We do, I mentioned that Patreon. We got parlays, money line, picks, my favorite picks against the spread. I love over-unders for college football. I hit on a lot of those last year. So we'll be talking a lot of over-unders on there as well. So you can check that out. Again, link down below. Next game, Oklahoma versus Tulane. Oklahoma's -24.5. Definitely taking Oklahoma. If they were -30, I would take Oklahoma as well. So I'm feeling pretty good about that one here. And the reason I think they're 24.5, they could rest some key guys possibly, and maybe limit some guys perhaps here in week one. Maybe guys that aren't full go. That's just really the only thing I can think of there, and it's definitely a possibility. So that's probably why it's down at 24.5. Maybe Vegas thinks they could just surprisingly only win by 24. Sounds funny. I think they're going to win by over 30 points, though. That's me. I'm going to take Oklahoma. This is a pretty good one, too. I mean, obviously, it's a big-time game. You got Alabama #1 versus #14 Miami. And I'm going to pick Alabama, the best team in the country. I guess debatable with a couple other teams. I'm going to pick Alabama to win the game here, but -18.5. I mean, that's a lot, going against a #14, a very good team in the Miami Hurricanes, with Derek King leading the way. It's a very talented team here. So it just shows how good Alabama is, obviously, with that 18.5. It is interesting because you could see them winning by 17 points. If you take Bama 18.5, you lose. I'm going with Bama. I think they're going to win by around that 20 to 24 range, safe spot 20 to 21 points. And the reason I think that is because I think having Bama week one is rough. It's tough. I mean, having them any week's tough. But having them right off the bat, why? Because Alabama had all this time since last year ended to game plan for Miami, game plan for Derek King. I love Alabama's linebacker, maybe the best in the country. They're gonna figure out how to put a spy on Derek King, keep him kind of contained there, obviously, and they're gonna worry about the pass. I love the returning starters for Alabama at the cornerback and safety position. Obviously, they don't have Surtain back, but I'm not worried about that at all because they're loaded back there. So they're gonna force Derek King to pass, which he could pass, but it's Alabama here. All that time to game plan with this team that wins so much off their coaching, their game plan. But on top of that, they have the better talent as well. So Alabama's going to score. They could eat the clock while running the ball if they wanted to. They can air the ball downfield if they want to. They can score in any way. Can Miami keep up? Bama will try, and I think they'll succeed in making them kind of one-dimensional there. So that's why I'm thinking a pretty big win here, but that should be a pretty fun game here this week. Here's another. The Big Ten ones are real tough. Indiana and Iowa. Indiana was looking like a sneaky team before Penix got hurt. Iowa maybe a little more of a balanced team, obviously, but they've been known for their defense as well. This is a 17 versus 18. I'm definitely taking Indiana. This is very similar to the Penn State-Wisconsin game. I'm definitely taking Indiana with the points here, 4.5. Because they could win the game, and I think if they lose, it's going to be very, very tight. I think the difference here is, Iowa's going to play a little better defense, so I think they can figure out how to slow Penix down. And then I do think, I don't think Iowa's going to move the ball crazy amount. What Iowa needs to do in this game, which I think they'll do, they got to come out pounding the football. They got to try to control the game, control the clock. Focus on the middle of the field. Quick game. I would stay away from the sideline and, in the passing game, over 10 yards. You're going to need explosive plays, but I think that's where Indiana can make that extra play and get you, with their defense. But it's a really good game. I'm surprised it's as much as 4.5. That could be an even line for me. So I'll take Indiana plus 4.5. And then again, with the top 25 games, I will predict scores, winners, obviously, for each game. That's on our Patreon, of course. With other things. Link down below for that, of course. West Virginia, Maryland, another tough one to predict. Just some of these teams that are just kind of up in the air and how they'll be this year. West Virginia minus 3.5, Maryland plus 3. Maryland's just been extremely inconsistent. 1 week they look pretty promising, and 1 week they don't. They look pretty bad. I'm 3. They're very good at making these lines because 3.5 just makes it tough. I could see West Virginia winning by 3. I could see them winning big too. I'm kind of feeling West Virginia on this one. This is definitely not one I would put money on. It's definitely a tough one. Definitely an interesting game here. Louisiana, who's number 23, the Texas Longhorns, now under Steve Sarkisian, is 21. So 21 versus 20. Who would have thought that? Texas Longhorns versus Louisiana, it's 21 versus 23. Pretty wild. And we saw Louisiana upset Iowa State last year. Iowa State was a big-time team too, so that makes it interesting. It's another tough one, minus 9.5. It seems like a lot for a 2 difference in terms of the rank. But I do think the matchup, I do know the matchup sides with Texas Longhorns for sure. Because, I think they're going to run the ball and not kind of allow Louisiana a shot. I think Robinson should be able to run wild in this game. Not allow Louisiana a shot to kind of get going, kind of get in that groove. Iowa State was kind of struggling to score, struggling to continue to push down the field, and they lost to them last year. I don't really see Texas having any problem because of that run game, but Iowa State had a dominant run game too, and they struggle. But I'm thinking Texas wins. It's going to be close to that 9.5. It's probably going to be in that 10 to 14 range, but I think they're going to win by double digits, so it's pretty tough. Texas Tech and Houston could be a pretty good game. I'm definitely feeling Texas Tech in this game. They get the transfer from Oregon, Tyler Shuck. There was some high hopes for him. A lot of hype for him at Oregon, maybe because Justin Herbert was just there before that, and he was pretty underwhelming. And we saw even, Oregon almost hid Justin Herbert's talents. They really hid Shuck's arm talent down the field. We really didn't get to see any of it for some reason. We expected a lot more. Texas Tech won't hide that. They'll let him go out there and sling it. He'll probably have some mistakes throughout the year, but this is a defense I think he can take advantage of in week 1. I think they're going to win the game. I think they're going to win by more than by more than 3 points here. So I do like them -2.5. That's the big game of the week. We got Georgia and Clemson. Cannot wait for this game. What was it? Number 5 Georgia and number 3 Clemson. I'm definitely picking Clemson to win. This is my number 1 team going into the year. I think they got a lot of key returning players in the spots where they lost key players. Trevor Lawrence, they got a big time quarterback in DJ Uiagalelei, who I think could be the best player in all of college football this year. Georgia actually lost quite a bit. You look at defense, there's not too many returners. Sure, they have guys step up. They will step up. It's a very talented team, well-coached team, very well recruited, but will it step up? Will those guys, kind of the under-the-radar guys, step up week 1 against Clemson? Obviously not having Pickens will be tough as well. They'll be able to score. They'll be able to put points on the board, but I like Clemson. I think Clemson wins by at least a touchdown here. Not saying they're going to kill them, run it up big time or anything, but at least a touchdown. So I'm going to go Clemson. 3.5 is a good line. It makes it tough, obviously, because they could win by a field goal, and obviously you lose there. LSU and UCLA is actually could be a pretty good game. LSU was they're number 16. They were pretty damn disappointing last year, obviously, but and then Miles Brennan breaks his arm. Was it fishing, which is pretty wild. But it should be a pretty big step up for them this year. We hope at least. There could be some inconsistencies, not having their key quarterback, as they have Max Johnson though. But I think not having their Brennan obviously could be killer, I guess, for them. UCLA actually got a game in. That's what makes this tough. They got a game in already last week, and it was an easy win for them. Obviously, they ran the ball. They ran the ball pretty effectively. Didn't see a whole lot of Dorian Thompson-Robinson there, who we expect a lot bigger things from. But he could be a little inconsistent in the passing game too. And you look at LSU Tigers. Look at their secondary. Look at those corners. They could cause some problems there. UCLA is going to want to run the ball. That's what they're going to lean on, and they'll be able to run the ball pretty effectively. I just don't think UCLA will be able to do enough here to keep up with LSU. They're going to have to be a little better in the passing game. I think LSU wins. I think they'll win by around, at least 10 points, actually. They're not going to smoke them, but I think they'll be around that 10 to 17 point range. I guess 17 would be kind of smoking somebody, but so I'm feeling pretty good about the Tigers. And then you got BYU and Arizona. It's another tough one that I definitely would not put money on. You see how BYU is without Zach Wilson. It won't be much of a passing threat, obviously, but they'll be a pretty good running team, actually. And teams were able to have their way with Arizona in general, but especially running the ball last year. So that's why I think BYU will win the game here. I mean, the last time we saw Arizona, they gave up 70 points to Arizona State. It's a 70-7 game. And Arizona State didn't really have to go all out passing the ball either. So I think BYU wins because of that. A little bit messy situation in Zona, but they should be able to pick it up, play a little better this year. 11.5 is extremely tough, though. I keep saying this one's the toughest. That one's probably the toughest. 11.5 is so tough. I'm almost leaning Arizona. I would not touch this one. With real money, obviously you got to pick it in this if you're joining this league. I think the Cougars of BYU will be able to. They'll run the ball. They'll come out there running the ball. They'll control the clock, and they'll be effective doing that. They won't air the ball out like they did with Zach Wilson. They won't go and score in 3 plays in 3 seconds. What I'm getting to, clock will wind, leaving little room for BYU to get crazy ahead or get this crazy lead. I mean, they can get big explosive chunk plays and score in 1 play on the ground. It's definitely possible against Arizona, but I think more clock will be coming off than we're used to. Would be like a Zach Wilson BYU. I do think Arizona should be better than last year as well. BYU won't be as good as last year, but they'll be effective running the ball again, maybe more. But I don't know if there's room for them to really gain that giant lead of over 11.5 points. It's possible, but it's probably going to be close, probably in that 7 to 10 range. Again, it's probably not one I would touch. It should be an interesting one. So again, picking BYU to win, but Arizona should cover that 11.5. And then we have a tiebreaker score down here. I think it's cut off on your screen. It's Clemson versus Georgia. I was kind of feeling, and I'll do my score predictions to get a final, and that's on Patreon. I was kind of thinking 55 points, around that range. I know the over-under is around 51.5, so it's going to be in that range. Maybe a little more offense than that if I would take the over if I had to pick. So I was thinking 55, so then I'm going to submit all those picks there. And again, you guys can play along in this league. Insane amount of you already joined because you're already following the Twitter. You already heard about it. So go over our Twitter, follow us, but I'll put a link in the comment section, pinned in the comment section at the very top. That'll bring you directly to that Twitter. Click that follow button, click that link, and then join this league. The same thing for NFL. Patreon, you see it's right above me, patreon.com/thegoathouse. Weekly score predictions for top 25 games. So the games that weren't on here, Ohio State plays Minnesota. Notre Dame plays Florida State. There's a lot more games to go over. And then my favorite bets of the week. I always include over-unders to show you what parlay I'm about to take. If there is one, week one's usually a little tricky. I'm pretty safe. I'm pretty cautious. But we had some wild games last year that ended up, parlays that ended up working last year. So we'll break it all down. If you go there and you don't see it yet, it's coming. There's never going to be a time where I don't post it. It's usually up by Wednesday afternoon, in the week, sometime between Monday and Wednesday night. It'll be up. So links, description, comments for anything you need there. And again, make sure you follow that Twitter. Please like, subscribe, turn notifications on. If you're new, insane amount of NFL content. Got weekly picks, score predictions, a lot more on the channel every single week. That's right around the corner. Crazy roster moves going on right now. I'm expecting some trades. Got you covered instantly as it happens on our Twitter. It's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.